am Sue Webley. Welcome to another episode of Inspire. Hey, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Inspire. I miss y'all. It's been a minute. Our last episode was our 2-hour long holiday special. And I know that many of you had watched that. And listen, it was so phenomenal. I need y'all to go back and watch it again, right? Get inspired again by watching that. But I have missed you. I have been traveling. I have went to South Africa with my school, and that was an amazing experience. And then kind of getting acclimated to the new semester here at MTSO in Ohio. And so I am back. Did you miss me? I missed you. I missed you all so much. And so I'm so happy to see you all coming in. Do me a favor, share this out. Let your friends, let your family, let your networks know that there is another episode of Inspire happening today. Today, we're going to talk about intimacy, bringing intimacy back. I am so excited about our guest today, bringing intimacy. So we could talk about bringing intimacy back with Dr. April Brown. Do me a favor. I want you to make sure that you're connecting, following, liking, subscribing. We're on Facebook at Cara Solutions LLC. On Facebook, Instagram, on YouTube. We are on Facebook and Instagram and Inspired by Cara. And of course, you can head over to our website at www.cara-solutions.com or www.getinspired.live to learn all about Cara Solutions and about Inspired. Also, I want to invite you to listen later. We're on Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. And we are at Inspired with Sue and all of those platforms. And so pretty soon it's not going to be Inspired by Cara anymore. It's going to be Inspired with Sue. So look out for that change. I see you coming in. Let me know where you are watching from. Let me know where you're watching from. And you know how I do with every show. What are you sipping on this morning? So, yeah, I know I got coffee in my cup. Right? And today I have my Inspire Black Excellence Cup. Listen, you know, we are winding down Black History Month, and we know that Black history is 24/7, 365 days of the year. But, you know, I had to represent for all the Black excellence going on. And so I'm, of course, going to take a sip of my cup. Let me know what you were sipping on, where you're watching from, and what you're sipping on this morning. So the type of coffee I have is mushroom coffee. And if you've been watching me for any length of time, you know that my sibling Renee turned me on to mushroom coffee. Let me take a sip. And it is so good. If you want the link to that mushroom coffee, let me tell you, it will bless your life. I'm so glad that God made the coffee bean and then gave us the intelligence to roast that thing and put some hot water on it, put some sugar and cream to it. Hallelujah. Yes, I'm so grateful for coffee this morning. But I like the fact that they added some mushrooms to it. Oh, no, see, I'm not going to do that. I just did it really fast because I don't want to give them free advertising. They can sponsor me, though. Because trust me, I buy enough of it. And it is not cheap. Hey, good morning. Hey, Danny, coming in from Delaware. Sparkling water with ginger. That sounds so good. That sounds so good. Listen, if you're in the chat with Danny, Danny's going to be a guest soon. So I'm going to reach out to Dan. She has written a book, and I'm excited to learn all about it. Hey, Boaz, good morning to you. What are you drinking? What are you sipping on? I see some of y'all coming in. Listen, y'all being quiet this morning, but it's all right. It's okay. Just let me know what you're sipping on. Let me know what you're sipping on this morning. You know how we do here at Inspire. Before we go further, I do want to just send prayers and words of comfort to the family of HIV and AIDS activist Hadia Broadbent, who passed away at age 39 early this year. She was one of the first advocates, specifically a child advocate. They did not expect her to live past 5 years old. And she lived until 39. And she spent her entire life being an advocate for HIV and AIDS, and started really before medication was made available, readily available to those who are living with HIV and AIDS. And so, Hadia Broadbent, you are among the ancestors. We call your name today. Thank you. Thank you so much for all of the work that you did while you were on this side, and now you are hanging out with the ancestors, and we appreciate you. I see you talking. Let's see. Hey, Minister Priscilla. Good morning. Drinking coffee. Okay. Good morning. Listen, I don't want to belabor the time. I see y'all coming in. Do me a favor again. Share. We're talking about, yes, Danny, we will forever call her name. We will forever call her name. But today we're going to be talking about bringing intimacy back. And so if you listen, I want to make sure that you have some questions of course I have my own questions, but I want to be sure that we get your questions in too. Prayerfully, you'll be fully present during our conversation today. I know it's early for those of you, especially who are on the West Coast, and I thank you for joining us from the West Coast. If you're risen up, and if you're up and early, it should be about 7:10 there and on the West Coast. And so yeah, let's get into our discussion with our guest today. Our guest today is the phenomenal Dr. April Brown, who's an author, licensed mental health professional, and host of the Bringing Intimacy Back podcast. With a doctorate, let me go back because I had it in front of me, y'all. Listen, I gotta grease up the wheels again. There it is. Okay, she is a distinguished relationship coach, author, and speaker with a passion for guiding individuals and couples towards deeper, more fulfilling connections. Dr. Brown's expertise stems from her extensive background in counseling and her commitment to improving intimacy in various aspects of life. With a doctorate in psychology and over 2 decades of experience, Dr. Brown has become a leading voice in the realms of self-improvement, spiritual growth, and relationship counseling. Her impactful work extends beyond traditional therapy, encompassing a series of ebooks, which we're going to talk about later, aimed at making intimacy accessible and impactful for everyone, regardless of their background or circumstances. Dr. Brown's dedication to fostering intimacy in love relationships, friendships, business connections, and within oneself has significantly influenced the lives of countless individuals. Her insights into the correlation between self-intimacy, spiritual connection, and the strength of our relationships with others have provided invaluable guidance to those seeking to enhance the quality of their connections. And so as we prepare to meet Dr. April, we're going to take a look at a clip of her talking about communication and self-talk. Let's take a look at this clip.
Now, one of the things that she said, and it's probably my most important thing, is self-talk. And what I mean by self-talk, if you don't remember anything else that I say in any of this, don't ever say anything negative about yourself. Yeah, no. You are going to be with you for the rest of your life. Yeah, but you can't. You cannot say anything negative about yourself. You're living with yourself for the rest of your life. And you may say, well, April, I make mistakes. I make mistakes too. I make mistakes every day. But I'm a work in progress. But I won't ever put myself down. If you don't remember anything else, because how you talk to yourself encourages how other people talk to you. How people treat you, yeah. How you treat yourself is how other people will treat you. So don't ever, ever say anything negative about yourself.
Did you forget you did? Did you forget you did that, Dr. April?
I'm sorry. Excuse me. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
So I really appreciate that clip and talking about self-talk because many of us struggle in that area, right? With talking to ourselves in ways that we would not talk to anybody else.
Right. And
Right.
that self-intimacy with yourself is so important, but many times we don't know ourselves.
Yeah.
So I love to connect it out. But thank you so much for having me on the show.
Oh, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. So, the first question is always going to be, what are you sipping on, Dr. April?
Oh, I am sipping on, in my Bringing Intimacy Back cup, some nice, warm, good coffee that is definitely hazelnut. I like that.
Hazelnut coffee. So I shared with you before we went live that I typically get teased in the audience for drinking decaf coffee. So I don't see any of those people there yet, but I'm sure they'll be coming in. But I get teased all the time for drinking decaf coffee because some people believe it's not coffee. But listen, regular coffee don't always, it's not always nice to you, girl. Okay, get the acid reflux and stuff like that. And so I gotta take care of myself. So sometimes I have to do the most times I do decaf. But today again, I'm drinking mushroom coffee, which is definitely caffeinated. It's giving me a boost this morning. So let us sit together, Dr. April.
Yes, definitely.
So today is all about bringing intimacy back. And I'm so grateful that we connected. I connected with your marketing director, I think it was, on StreamYard Collab. So shout out to StreamYard Collab.
Oh, yes. Awesome. Yes.
Listen, for connecting individuals who are doing, podcasts like this and talks like this. We're getting some really good connections through StreamYard Collabs. And so I'm grateful for that. But when you think about intimacy, a lot of people have different definitions of what intimacy is. So, Dr. April, how would you define intimacy and why is it important in our lives?
So intimacy, and it is one of the things you said earlier, it is first and foremost being truly present. And that when I say being truly present, I mean being truly present without judging others and, of course, without judging ourselves. Yeah. And when you're truly present in this moment, that's when you can really be open to connect. The next part is connection. Yeah. And when I think of being truly intimate, it's being connected with your higher power, that helps you determine and helps you define yourself, being connected with yourself, and then being, of course, connected with the people around you. And even the environment, yes.
Yeah, so intimacy has this really broad definition. So many people equate it with sex when they think about intimacy. They think about sex and like as if it's interchangeable. It's one and the same. It isn't. Intimacy is a completely different animal. And so I love this broadened definition of intimacy. And when I came across your books on Amazon, I'm going to post that Amazon link for you for you guys who are watching and who are catching the replay to purchase Dr. April's ebooks on intimacy. I was like, wow, I did not know that there were so many different levels of intimacy. Dr. April, how did you come to be engaged in this particular work?
Because I had an intimate moment with God, I guess, yes.
That's usually how it happens.
Yeah, so it's back in like 2018 when God spoke to me about even just thinking about getting certified as a sex therapist. And I went through that certification. And it was just like, it was just learning about body parts and all that. And I was like, there's something missing.
Mm.
Yeah, there was something missing. And even in the sense of, I mean, that's one aspect, but even in the sense of so much stuff online and people just not really connecting. And so God spoke to me about, April, I really want you to help people focus on intimacy. And at first, of course, like everybody else, it's like, God, I can't be talking about sex all the time. Because April, it's not just sex, April.
Right.
Yeah, but that intimate relationship overall, the one with him, the one with our bodies, you know, the one with just being able to, and I deal a lot with communication, helping people have intimate communication, even when things are struggling, like even in a crisis. How can you be truly intimate and not disassociate?
Yeah.
Many times people disassociate because they're not comfortable with the uncomfortable stuff.
Mm.
You know, there's trauma or that kind of stuff. Yes. But also that even just that intimacy of just having fun, that humor, that intellectual intimacy when our minds are connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are variety different forms of intimacy.
Yeah.
Let us not be so limited on just one aspect. And when you can throw in a couple or few or at a time, yeah, that's
Wow.
mind blowing.
It is. So what would you say are some common misconceptions or myths about intimacy that you have encountered so far in your practice?
The one, of course, like you said, that it's just sex, but sex is just one form that can be very intimate. That's one. The next one is that emotional piece that sometimes people feel like, do I really need to put in my feelings, you know? Yeah. Or they just, if someone else is feeling something, they don't validate it. Because validation is also part of intimacy when we are talking about with feelings, you know, validating who's in front of you and your partner, seeing each other. You know, it's one definitely form. Another thing that people just is like, they don't realize that intimacy is also in other types of relationships. You know, having an intimate moment with your kids, being able to sit there and hear them. Yeah. So it's just always, you know, people just think one limited thing versus there's a variety of things, and that you have to work at it.
So you don't have to work at intimacy?
You do have to work at it. I say,
okay.
Yes, it's something that you have to work at it. That most people are not even thinking they have to work at. They think they can show up, and it's just going to happen.
Wow. So in that sense, that intimacy is a discipline.
Yes, it is a discipline. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
But you realize many people have a hard time just being still and focused and in the present moment. Yeah. They're either thinking about what's happening next, you know, or sometimes even having a lot of anxiety about what's happening next, or trauma from the past, or putting themselves down. All of those things. You miss the present moment, which, like right now, Susan, you and I have this present moment, Sue.
Yeah. Why do you think? And you know, this probably jumping a question here, but you talked about you know, you mentioned trauma and some of these other things. What is the struggle? What is the struggle, or why do you believe individuals struggle with the practice or the discipline of intimacy?
Well, many times, one of the first basic things in developing as a person is trust. It's developed in the first few years of life. And so sometimes if that's not developed, you know? And what I mean by trust is when you have a baby, and if you're doing 50 million things or whatever, there's trauma, whatever, and that baby isn't getting their needs met, you know, starts to develop mistrust or other stuff in childhood, you know? And so childhood is very important. I'm a very proponent that, you know, as parents, sometimes we have to take lessons on how to learn how to raise children. So sometimes things in childhood prevent people from being truly vulnerable and intimate and as an adult. Because in reality, sometimes people feel like if their parents have hurt them or the people they grew up hurt them, everybody else. But in reality, to be honest with you, we don't select our family.
We do not. We do get to choose. We don't choose our blood families, right?
Right. That's what I'm saying. Our blood families.
Choose outside, yes.
Yes. Yeah. So I think sometimes that's that. The other issue is that in this world, especially in America, there's this rush. We're Americans, we rush everywhere. You know that.
Yeah.
Like there's a scarcity. We run around and we go so fast. And when you're going so fast, you miss everything around you.
Wow. Yeah.
You know?
There's important things around us that we need to
Right.
notice. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the greatest spiritual people in this world and past, they didn't run around so much. But why are we always running?
It's a distraction.
Yes, exactly. Because we fear just being still.
Yeah. Well, I could do. Listen, I could do a whole show on just on the difficulty with being still. So many of us can't. And I know it takes more muscles in our bodies to be still than it does when we move, and that's part of the reason. You know, outside of psychologically and
Right.
you know, emotionally, why it's difficult to stand still. It takes more work in your body,
right,
to be still than it does to keep moving. So let's go back a little bit to the opening video, right? And so in that particular, I think it was a seminar. It looked like a seminar to me. You did speak about these 22 ways of embracing or practicing intimacy for mental health. So what is the connection between intimacy and mental health?
Okay. So intimacy, I said, is being truly present. Right. Okay. So I'm going to just talk about the number one, and then I'll go to the number two. The number one mental health issue is anxiety. Anxiety is that overwhelming feeling. Yes. And people are either very anxious about the future. What if this happened? What if this happened? I don't know. I'm so scared. I'm terrified. What if this happened? Or they have triggers from the past. You know, because in all honesty, our mind remembers everything that's happened to it, and our body, there's a thing called the body keeps score. Our body remembers everything that happens. Yes. So when we're anxious, we're not truly present. So you understand how intimacy and anxiety, yeah. So when you're truly intimate and you're truly present, it decreases that anxiety. Yeah. Some people can do this through learning different skills. But there are a group of people who may need, because of genetics and other stuff, medication. Truly. Okay. The other part is depression. So when you have depression, it's like I say, it's like this here is a house. I mean, you have depression, it's basically a house divided. We know when houses are divided, they fall.
Depression is a house divided. Wow.
Yeah. Because you're there, but then you're talking about yourself up here. Because when you're depressed, you're not, and I'm not saying I want people to be arrogant. I'm not saying, but even in all the religions, you know, from Buddhism to Christianity and all of them, it's love thy neighbor as thyself. when you're depressed, you're not loving you. Yeah, you're talking about you, but you're not loving you. Yeah. So it is a house divided. And then you question yourself, should I do that? Should I not do that? Yeah. Or you're like, I don't believe I can do anything, so I'm going to just lay here. Yeah.
And so this is for so are we talking about kind of life circumstance depression, seasonal depression, chronic depression? What kind of depression are we talking about?
So part of it is, it's all of it, but in reality, you're right. And sometimes on seasonal things, when you lose someone, of course there's sadness. And of course there is sometimes even a time period you feel like, oh my gosh, it should have been me, or can I go with them? But when depression lasts for a significant time, and then when it stops you and impairs you from doing your daily stuff, from getting to go to work, from taking care of your kids, from some people, to be honest, they don't even want to take showers or brush their hair, or brush their teeth. Yeah. So intimacy helps with that. But also there are a group of people, like I said, that may need medication. Yeah. And if you're on medication, which is great, but sometimes people complain, like, I'm taking all this medication, but nothing's working. Medication takes away some of the symptoms, but sometimes you also need to learn the skills. You know what I'm saying? To make certain changes. Because going back to circumstances, sometimes there may be people in your life who say things to put you down, who take away your energy, who keep you not at your best. Sometimes you can move away from those people. Sometimes you can, but then you have to learn how to protect yourself. Okay, because you don't have to rent space to everybody up here.
You do not. You do not have to rent space. Sometimes there's too many people squatting, right? It's not we rent the space because we're not getting anything. we're not getting anything positive out of it, right? So that you allow people to squat,
right,
in your head. Yeah.
We've
been so talking about like the individual, because of the last talking about anxiety and depression. So really the individual intimacy, which I think, I certainly didn't think about, because again, where there's so many definitions of intimacy,
right?
It's easy to look at intimacy as between one person to another person, right? But you believe that the integrity of the relationships that we cultivate with other people is directly connected to the strength of the relationship with ourselves. Right?
Definitely.
And so what ways can we strengthen the relationship with ourselves?
One way is to know ourselves. Okay. And even, and I'm just going to go, because it made my mind go to the partner intimacy. Many times I work with a lot of couples, and sometimes certain genders, such as females, we feel like the man should know how to please me. He should just automatically know. Yeah. But if you don't know yourself, how do you expect him to know? So it starts with you knowing yourself. You understand what I mean by that? Yeah. So that's one ways. Number two, of course, like I always say, is to always be uplifting to yourself. One of the misconceptions in life is that everything is supposed to be perfect, but in reality, nothing is perfect. The trees aren't perfect. And so it's learning how to adjust to that. And if you make a mistake, as we all do, I'm a work in progress, pick yourself up and move forward. It does help to meditate every day, to sit there and just calm yourself and meditate. And meditate means to actually be in the present moment, feel what's going on in your body. because that's even also important of us knowing what's going on in our body, scanning our body. I mean, that helps in a variety of different ways, even medical.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm taking note.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So welcome everyone. I see more people coming in. Hey, Chuck Hunt. Hey, Dave Tony. Hey, brother. How are you? Listen, we are here with Dr. April Brown. We're talking about bringing intimacy back, and later on, we will discuss get more into romantic relationships. And so we honor all romantic relationships here on Inspire. So when we talk about relationships, we are talking, if you're LGBTQ plus, then listen, we talking about you too. That no one is excluded here on this show. So I just wanted to make that clear. You know what? Let me go ahead and we take a mini break. Let's take a mini break. Awesome. You get a sip of your coffee, Dr. April.
Yes,
and
definitely.
We will be right back with some more talk on bringing intimacy back with our phenomenal guest, Dr.
Thank you.
April. Hey guys, thank you again for joining us. I want to invite you again to connect, follow, like, and subscribe. Again, we are on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Cara Solutions LLC, and we're also on Facebook and Instagram and Inspired by Cara. And as always, you can head over to our website at www.cara-solutions.com. Don't forget that hyphen in the middle because it will take you somewhere else. So www.cara-solutions.com or www.getinspired.live. We also invite you to follow us on Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. You can listen later if you want to catch up with any of our previous episodes. You can go ahead to those platforms and take a listen. I'm trying to build up our following on those platforms. So do me a favor and head over there and just click follow. Right? We're in Inspire with Sue on all of those platforms. If you, if you're someone that's on a mission to create change while inspiring others to do the same, or you know someone that is doing some amazing work in the community, we want to hear from you. We want you to join us in conversation on the future episode of Inspire. And so visit us again at www.getinspired.live to book your appearance today. So we are going to get back. We're going to get back. Thank you guys for watching again. You still have the opportunity to share. So go ahead and share while we get back into our conversation with Dr. April Brown. Welcome back, Dr. April.
Yes, welcome back. Thank you.
Thank you again for joining us. And this conversation has just been so profound and so enlightening and so inspiring. And so I mentioned earlier that you have a series of books.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what's the name of the book again? Improving Intimacy. So it's about 7 books in the series, yeah?
Yes.
And so in one of those books, you talk about intimacy, and you mentioned it earlier, but one of your books focuses on intimacy in familial relationships, particularly between parents and children. How does intimacy show up in this regard?
In this regard is being able to have that strong, deep connection, where your child, and you can be vulnerable to talk about things. And this is really important. It's important in the younger age, because remember I said earlier, that's how we develop certain things such as trust and all that. But it's also very important in those teenage years.
Mm-hmm.
That's when your child is formulating who they are, trying to figure out themselves. It's important to be able to be vulnerable, to talk about things, to have them share what's going on with their body, for you to educate them. It's having that. And what that entails sometimes is having special one-on-one lunches with your kid. You know, if you have multiple, that's one way. Another way that I used to do is I used to have a journal that went back and forth between me and my daughter. She would write in it. I would write in it. It would just be a great way. Yeah. Another way to do it is to watch what they're watching. You know, watch what they're watching, but don't watch it to criticize. So when they're watching the show, then you're like, oh, that's interesting. Would you do anything differently? I never thought about that. How, you know, and have discussions, because you want them to be able to formulate their own decisions in a way where they're just, you don't want them to always be followers.
Right.
You know, and I'm a believer. When I looked at my daughter, I felt like I was like kind of like her first employer in some aspect. Okay. So I wanted her to be able to learn how to voice her opinion at the time, and her to make decisions. You know what I'm saying? And stick by what her decision. So so we would have these debates and all this, and we talk all the time now. But the point is to have that deep connection. Yeah. And when you're teenagers, that's when you need to dig in more. Hands off. But really, that's when you need to dig in more.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's funny you talked about being an employer. So your work also explores the dynamics, and this is something that I just never thought about, right? Your work also explores the dynamics of intimacy in business relationships, right? And fostering meaningful connections in a professional setting. Can you say more about that?
Right. And I think, Sue, you're doing a wonderful job at this. In the sense of how you even connect with your listeners, is you really dig deep. You know what I'm saying? You want to make sure that they are heard. And this is so important, especially when you're managing, you know, and whether it's managing at McDonald's or Fortune 500, you want to be able to connect. So you want to be able to have discussions or opportunities for your employees, you know, to speak and to hear what they say, you know, and to validate their concerns. And to see things from their perspective. And a lot of this is also, you know, as the world has changed and whatever, for certain people, a lot of this is very cultural diversity, you know, for people that are not used to certain type of people. But anyway, but it's connecting.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Those of you who are watching, listen, I mentioned it before, but if you have questions for Dr. April, feel free to post them. And I'll make sure that she that we lift them up so that she can answer them. So let's talk about romantic relationships. And I intentionally push this down to later because, again, when most people think about intimacy, they think about romantic relationships and they think about sex. Right. So what are the components of intimacy in a romantic relationship? And what are some practical ways for partners to prioritize and nurture intimacy with each other?
All right. I'm going to reiterate again, know yourself. Again, because that's critical because, I see relationships where people don't know themselves. So as you're going into a relationship and knowing yourself, it's really even good. I mean, I'm a believer to have an idea of what you're really looking for so you don't settle, because many times people settle. Okay. All right. So for all those couples who are out there and you're already, you know, in a relationship, one thing that's important is to make sure that you spend time together to connect. Many times people who've been married or people who have children, you run around and you don't spend time. But the part is spending time to connect. And in that connection, when you're truly having an intimate moment or a date or whatever, don't discuss problems and all that. Okay. Your date night is not the time to discuss about the finances and all this and that. That's just the time to connect. You know, and when you connect, some people are like, oh, look at each other's eyes. I've had couples that they just talk and they don't look at each other's eyes. So I put them together and they have to stare at each other for about 2 minutes. Sometimes I even do 4 minutes. I don't know. Yeah. But how hard for people to do that.
Yeah.
You know? And when we talk about that physical intimacy, which needs to happen every day, I'm talking about just hugs, kisses, touches, because in reality, sometimes I know I go back to childhood, but touch is that first form of affection.
Yes.
All the way in the beginning. When we're in this womb here of a someone's belly, we develop touch. Yeah. So fast forward to relationships, you gotta touch. But sometimes touch can become, how can I put it? Some people don't like to be touched or just this, and sometimes when that happens, sometimes there's been trauma there.
Yes.
Keep score.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So if you're with your partner and somehow your partner touches you and you feel like, oh, I didn't like that. That's something about knowing yourself. Yeah, realizing that and maybe talking with a therapist, because sometimes there's parts of our body that have been traumatized.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that has to be worked on. Yeah. In that aspect. So touch is very, very important. Also with intimacy is how you communicate, how you talk to your partner. That communication. Do you are you saying loving words? And I teach people even how to have communication on difficult things. Instead of sitting there, people make mistakes and they criticize someone. But how do you go about saying that? How do you learn how to sandwich it? How do you say it from I? When you see something isn't done, instead of saying you didn't do the dishes, I feel whatever. I feel disturbed because I see dishes everywhere. That's a whole different aspect than, yeah. So that is another aspect. I'm going to go a little bit into the physical aspect. With the physical intimacy, besides that it's happening every day, when it comes to that intimacy and even that sexual intimacy, many times people focus so much on getting off and orgasms and all that. That's their sole purpose. Really, if you slow it down and just play. Just play.
Talk to us about playing, Dr. April. What does play look like?
Play looks like, not just two bodies just going at it, but really slowing down, laughing, rubbing, massaging, candles, having, the mind here is just, mind can go so many different ways.
Yeah.
Having your imagination, taking your time.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like a 2-minute thing. It should be a time. And the reason why I talk a lot about play is because as we get older, sometimes our bodies take a little bit longer.
Yes.
Females' bodies take a little bit longer as we get older. The male body takes a little bit longer. Also, so if you play and you're truly focusing, being in the present moment, it's more than likely things will just happen. What happens is we get in our mind. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm not pleasing her, or I'm not doing this right. I'm not doing this. Oh my gosh, I don't like this fat on my stomach. We start to judge ourselves. And when you're doing all that judging, whether judging the other person, judging yourself, you have left the scene.
My goodness. Come on, play with the belly. Play with the play with the belly.
Yes. And the more you honestly love yourself and they love on you, things work better.
Yeah.
Not from the same team.
Yeah. There's something about that imagination that you talked about. I mean, there's any number of places that you can go.
Right. You can create fantasies and just, that intellectual, and some of people, I mean, I'm very into, well, I'm not, I like intellectual people. Yes, and for some people that gets them excited.
Yeah. You talked a lot about knowing oneself, but it also helps. We're talking specifically romantic relationships that you know your partner.
You know your
Right.
partner, exactly.
So, and that takes time.
That takes time.
Right? You take your time. You get to know your partner. You know what feels good to your partner. You know what doesn't. You know what the triggers are. Yeah, and that takes communicating, right?
Yes. One example of that is I don't know if you've heard of Sensate Focus.
Tell us about it.
Okay, Sensate Focus is basically one person is naked and the other person is massaging them from top to bottom using a variety of different things. Okay, when I give it as an assignment, I start with the top and have each person just slowly touch their partner here to here. And this shouldn't be like 5 minutes like this, okay?
Right.
Yeah. This could take 30 minutes. You can use feathers, leather, linen, whatever.
Come on, Dr. April. Listen, I hope y'all taking notes because I am. Go ahead, Dr. April.
Yes. But when you slow down and you really touch every part of your partner's body, you know, whether you're using kisses, lips, variety of things. Okay, as the person receiving, you feel, oh, this feels good, this feels funny, this feels ticklish. Sometimes then you can figure out those trigger points of if something happened to your body.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So let's say something happened to your body right here. You're like, oh, that felt different. You know, you can decide whether you and your partner never to touch that part again.
Yeah.
Or you make new memories there. You know what I'm saying? But you don't know that unless you slow it down.
Yes.
Because when you're doing, let's say, sex so fast, this may have happened and you may have like, oh, done, over with. But if you had slowed it down and you realized that was just a little part there, yeah, which it may have meant you had a flashback from something else in your past or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So Sensate Focus is basically slowing it down. So sometimes you start here, maybe that's, you know, one day, then you do the here, then you do there. Yeah. And for feedback, so you're the one receiving, some people can get feedback right in the bedroom. Some, it depends. Others, you may need to do feedback outside of the bedroom. Okay. Because one thing I don't want is the bedroom should never be a pressure cooker. The bedroom should never be a pressure cooker.
That's good.
And I'm not saying you have to, you can have sex all over the house. But, you know, sometimes when I have couples, a variety kind of couples, they have so much pressure. You know what I'm saying? Like they feel like they have to perform. I have to do this. Yeah. But if you think of it more as play versus, oh my gosh, I have to have this performance, because this is what we call performance anxiety. I don't know if you've, there's a lot of performance anxiety. Yeah. But if you put it as play, we're just enjoying ourselves. I'm enjoying your body. You enjoy my body. Yeah.
So it's all about, it's changing the perception of it in our mind. And if if you are in a relationship where you feel that intimacy or physical intimacy is a chore, you have to, If you feel that it's a chore, that is something that maybe that you're obligated to do. I mean,
right.
You have to kind of explore that.
Right. If you feel like you're, oh gosh, I have to do this, stop that.
Yeah.
Because that's only traumatizing your body more. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Oh, this is so good. Listen, we're definitely going to have you back to talk more about the physical, the sexual aspect of it, because that's one of the things. I don't know. Well, I'm coming from a Black community context. We're so uptight about sex.
Right.
We're so uptight about sex. We don't want to talk about sex. And I think it's important to talk about sex. Like we were made to be sexual, sensual. We are sexual, sensual beings, and the divine made us that way.
Right. And people
Right?
get so upset about putting the divine name in sex, but really, it was created to have pleasure.
Yeah. So it's necessary to kind of explore those barriers. For many of us, it's embedded theology, a cultural upbringing, many things that prevent us from really fully experiencing pleasure.
Right. And enjoying it.
And enjoying it. You're supposed to enjoy it, y'all.
Right. And you're supposed to, like I said, it's about play. And in that play, you have release.
Yeah.
And when you release, that also definitely decreases anxiety and also produces the good hormones to uplift depression.
Yeah. We're gonna have you back and have a good panel about that later on this year. We're definitely going to talk about that. So we're almost at time, but I do want to get a few more questions in. It is nearing the end of Black History Month, right? And so I want to talk about, how does intimacy show up in our lives as Black individuals living in America? Right.
Wow.
So in your observation, in your 20 years of doing this work, what would you say is the state of intimacy in our community?
Wow, that's a powerful one. So just to give a little background, I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina. So I grew up in the South. Okay. But I went to all white schools and all that growing up. Okay. So that's the the framework that I am coming from in some aspect.
Yeah.
I see that one great thing that did happen in 2020 is we got, I think, as a race, we got closer. You know what I mean? Yeah. But overall, in the sense of America, how can I put it? There's much more division. And growing up for me in the South, we were taught not to trust anything. You know what I'm saying? And I understand that. And I'm not one who trusts everything, but I am one who will review a situation and see, if I can trust, if I cannot trust, because that's very, very important. My goal is to hope that people of different cultures can all come together and learn how to have communication and talks. Because how I see the world is because of how I was born and raised. But I say to myself, if I grew up with some other parent in some other country, I may see the world differently. So it is, I think, for the world, if we were to solely have these small communities and start talking and start truly being present and hearing one another, because in all honesty, we all want the same thing. Yeah. But intimacy requires sharing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And there are some group of people in this world who don't know how to share. Who are have a hard time putting themselves in other people's shoes. That's what we call empathy. Yeah.
What are, I really want to get this question in. Do you believe media representation and historical stereotypes have influenced perceptions of Black intimacy?
Oh, of course.
How can these be addressed?
Of course. Well, of course, having different types of stuff on the media, you know what I'm saying? Showing more positive aspects is one way. Two, just in the local communities is having these small groups of people, because there's some people, to be honest with you, they don't know Black people unless they see it on TV. And so they go produce things, yeah, based on what they see on TV, but they have not really had an intimate conversation or
Right.
friends, you know? So that's one way of learning how to change, and also teaching our young people, because they're the future.
Yes.
In that aspect, yes. And then for us not to be so judgmental also,
Mhm.
because there are different things of people from all different races. They've seen a variety of different things. So that's a whole nother.
We could do a whole show on that.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's just a variety of different aspects. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. Given the nature of the work that you do, in what ways are you intentional about cultivating intimacy in your own life? And how do you practice self-care?
How do I practice self-care? I'm going to start off with that is I love to play. So I do a lot of exercise workout, but my favorite thing that I do is improv.
Mhm.
That's my way of practicing my self-care. I do a lot of improv in the sense of formulating intimacy with my family and stuff. I'm always truly present. I have a great relationship with my daughter. Then I'm also engaged to to a man, and how we work on intimacy is we really try to set time aside to just really connect,
Mhm.
whether it's just outside walking, it's actually having dinner, or actually doing service, helping people. Or he does a lot of boating and stuff. So we boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, out there in nature. Yeah. And it doesn't mean we always have to be talking, but we're connecting,
Yeah.
having that deep friendship. And also even in the sense, so he's Italian, but he actually grew up in Africa.
Mhm.
So us learning about different, because I haven't quite been there yet. So
Yeah.
learning, and I'm wanting, that's one of the things on my list, but us learning about each other. Yeah. And having those deep conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. As we prepare to close today, it's been such a great conversation. In your book, Improving Intimacy, Everyday Expressions, right?
Right.
You offer over 100 unique ways to be intimate every single day. And so, as we end today, can you provide us with 3 of those tips for our audience?
Taking a shower together. It's one way to truly be intimate. When you start talking, I was just thinking, even just rubbing feet is one way to truly be intimate. Another is just even feeding each other. Yeah, staring in each other's eyes.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. April.
Oh, you're welcome.
I am so honored again that we were able to have this conversation today. We will definitely have you back. Tell the people where to reach you.
Oh, thank you, Sue, for having me on. If you're just wanting to reach out to me, one easy way is to just go into my website at www.drdaprilbrown.com, or you can email me at info@drdaprilbrown.com. That's an easy way. Also have a show called Bringing Intimacy Back.
Yes.
Yes. So you can check me out there. Yeah, definitely. But thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I wish you a phenomenal rest of your weekend. And I look forward to having you back on the show again soon.
All right, then. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Well, y'all, we have come to the end of another episode of Inspire. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us. I hope that you did share. I hope what was shared today in terms of bringing intimacy back in our lives was inspiring for you, it enlightened you. And I hope that you will take some of what Dr. April shared with us and implement them in your life. If you have certain topics or anything that you want to here on Inspire, certain guests that you want to see on Inspire, let me know about it. Let me know. I'm going to put this back up just so you can head over to our website at www.getinspired.live. Let us know, right? If you're someone who wants to be on Inspire, you are on a mission to create change while inspiring others to do the same, go ahead, book your appearance on Inspire today. I can't wait to see you guys next week. We'll be back to kick off Women's History Month. We are going to be focusing on women making a difference all month, and I'm excited to present all of my guests to you. But until we meet again, I want you to stay lifted. I want you to stay motivated. And most of all, I want you to stay inspired. God bless you. I look forward to seeing you again next week.